The KotoR remake is still alive and truly well because Saber says so. Now, Saber's a company that brought you Space Marine 2. They're supposedly bringing you Deus Ex and the KotoR remake. They have, over the course of the last couple of years, gone from being a relatively unknown studio to being an almost blockbuster studio. And they've been nailing it. Space Marine 2 has been phenomenal. But Knights of the Republic's remake has been sitting in squalor with nobody really knowing what's been happening, at least for quite some time. Now, for the past couple of years, Saber has said, we're gonna be releasing the game, it's gonna be coming out, give us time, it's coming. And they just very recently quoted KotoR remake alive and well by the Saber Interactive CEO. Now, I'm going to give some context to all of this. Saber used to be owned by Embracer Group, and Embracer Group literally self-destructed after the Saudi Arabian $2 billion mystery deal fell apart. So they didn't get the money they needed. They had to start selling off all their IPs. Essentially, they were a ginormous conglomerate of companies that fell apart and split off into multiple different facets. They own Kingdom of Amalur, they own Saber, they own Deus Ex, many other franchises. Saber bought their own freedom with help of some other investors, and then they also got the rights to the KotoR remake. Now, as Saber bought themselves, Borderlands, which used to be owned by Saber and was bought for 1.3 billion, was then sold off to Rockstar, who now owns the Borderlands creator. Like I said, Embracer went kablooey and just completely blew up. So let's talk a bit about Saber and how many studios they actually have though. Saber took the 3D Realms, Slipgate, Metro Devs, and more with them. So right here in this article, you can see Saber took a whole bunch of studios with them, and they also seized all operations in Russia, while Embracer, the parent company, did. Saber is mostly based in Eastern Europe, so a lot of Belarus, Latvia, the Baltics, Russia, Ukraine is, we're not going to get into that, but a lot of developers from that region. But now that we've taken a look at this, we have to talk about the KotoR remake, and as I said, the Saber developer quite literally said, everything is alive and well. Now, this isn't the first time they've said that. This has been said multiple times. This was from April 3, 2024, and we haven't heard anything since then. Essentially, the trailer came out in 2021. Now, when Saber said it was alive and well, everybody expected to hear some news, some information, anything, at least to keep the hope and the hype alive and real, except we got nothing. And we're likely not going to get anything else for quite some time. Between Space Marine 2's success, the work on Space Marine 3, which I'll cover in a bit, there has been a lot of news. So when we move on to today, March 14th, this video will come out a day or two later, Star Wars: Knights of the Republic remake developers insist everything we have talked about is still in development. And right now you can see them say, especially after the recent announcement of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 3, Star Wars has not been forgotten. And this might be alarming to people going, how can one studio work on 9-10 different games? Saber is a very big studio, ginormous, except most people don't know about it because it's Eastern Europe. Now, the number of employees at Saber is debatable, but we have a rough benchmark of about 2,500 plus. They've had over 3,000 before, but then the Embracer acquisition, employees being moved around, studios leaving their grasp, moving to Embracer, yada. So at a low end, 2,500 employees. At this day and age, it might be closer to 3,500, but we're not really sure. This is a fully independent studio, and they work on a lot of projects. Right here, we're going to list off all of the developers they have. 3D Realms, Vitex, Digic, Fractured Byte, Madhead Games, New World Interactive, Nimble Giant, Saber Armenia, Saber Belarus, Saber London, Saber Madrid, Saber Porto, Saber St. Petersburg, Saber Sweden, Sandbox Strategies, Slipgate, Smartphone Labs, Stuntworks. That's 18 studios. And essentially every studio is working on different games, different things. I'm not sure exactly which one of the Saber studios is working on the Knights of the Republic remake, but they've clearly had things on track because you guys have to remember that the Knights of the Republic remake was remade twice. The first studio that took it, screwed it up, reworked it. Then Sony forced them to rework it to a different thing, and then Saber has reworked it a third time. So this is essentially a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake. Now we're going to read exactly what the devs said about the game still being in development. Saber Interactive is one of the largest independent developers in the world, Willett said. We are working on numerous games across many different genres. Everything that we have talked about is still in development. We will share information on upcoming games when we have something cool to share. The most obvious subject of Willett's statement is the KotoR remake, which remains one of gaming's most elusive projects. Now, since 2021, the long-awaited remake has changed hand multiple times, seemingly stopped development and restarted again, and after 4 years has failed to materialize. In April 2024, which I showed you guys over here, this was April 2024, the Embracer CEO Matthew Carr confirmed the company took KotoR with it during its split from the Embracer group, and that the game was still in development. It's clear and it's obvious that we are working on this yet at the time. It's been in the press numerous times. What I will say is that the game is alive and well, and we're dedicated to making sure we exceed consumer expectations. When you consider everything, I do believe the game is going to come out well. Saber's got a really good track record of releasing good products. Nothing they really released up until Space Marine 2 was considered AAA in this context, but a lot of their games have been AA and better. And now Saber, with the resources and budget and the new renewed trust in them as a company, I think Knights of the Republic's remake is still going to be a really good, really solid launch product, especially when they have things like John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, Jurassic Park Survival. They're also working on a brand new Turok game and an untitled Avatar The Last Airbender game. When you have that many employees, and it's Eastern Europe, so it's honestly cheaper, and they also have different work ethic and work structures, we're looking at a company that will likely be behind 5, if not 10, of your top 20 games of the past decade, from the 2020s to 2030. And I do hope we get some more news and information soon, because being told the game is still in development, trust us, that's cool, I do trust you, Saber, but how about some gameplay? How about some actual information? What the game will end up looking like? What is the game's current system and format? Is it still real-time? Is it pause combat? Is it turn-based combat? What is the current state of the remake for Knights of the Republic 1? So, thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. Do you trust Saber? Do you think it's going to be a good product? Thank you all. Eben Hada. I'll see you guys in the next video.